This morning, I did a pre-recorded interview with Michael Olmstead. He is the one of the top epidemiologists, I think, in the country. You may have seen his interview with Joe Rogan about a month ago, almost. He, in 2017, essentially wrote the book on anticipating a Osterholm, anticipating the pandemic that we have now. Didn't know exactly what it was going to be. Obviously, he's been warning the country since 2005. It's fascinating. We will play this Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But it got me very angry about the failure of leadership we have in this country, and to realize how serious it is. It got me angry because of all the obvious things that we can see. But, you know, one of the things, and, you know, this is spoiler alert, I guess. I asked him, like, what on a practical level, like, what should we be doing? Like, what are the principles that we should be following? Like, obviously people say, you know, wash your hands, don't touch your face. According to him, which is also very similar to what, and his name escapes me now because I'm working on no sleep. But the Brendan, what was the name of the doctor that we had on from New Orleans? Can't remember his name now either. But he was He's an epidemiologist. Say again.
I'll get it in a second.
Okay. Epidemiologist from New Orleans. And he said something similar. The key seems to really be about the aerolization. It's the air. And it's not clear why in some instances, some people project more aerolization of the virus than others. But the real key, and I'm just telling you this, folks, because I found it really to be helpful to hear something definitive about it. Certainly, you know, good to wash your hands, good to be careful of what other people have touched, but the overwhelming majority of infections come from air. And in some instances, I think certainly beyond 6 feet away. He said to me, you know, when you see sun streaming through your window and you see stuff floating and you think, oh, it's really dusty in here. In fact, no, that's the aerolization. It is, I mean, it's smaller than droplets. It's like if you have a vaporizer in your house. But stuff like, you know, I said, well, what if somebody was like driving my car and for like half an hour and they had it, but I wasn't in the car? Would it be helpful for me to, you know, air it out for 10 minutes, open the doors and let it, oh yeah, definitely. And it's so obvious to him, but I'm like, you know, there should be some man or woman, like, I don't know, a president who, you know, gets in front of the country and say, like, here's some broad principles. Airing stuff out is good. Staying 6, 7, 8 feet away is good. Being not in enclosed spaces, you know, if you're out on your porch or your stairs or you're, you know, on the street talking to a friend and they're 10 feet away, that's much better than being in a room 10 feet away. Like, these basic principles, we just don't hear because we have an idiot, a malignant idiot as our president, a narcissistic, malignant idiot who is firing people. I mentioned this, I think it was on Wednesday, right? About that guy, Rick Bright, who was part of BARDA, the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. He was at the CDC for a decade. Since 2010, he has worked at BARDA. He was fired because he was here's what he said in a statement yesterday. He was fired in particular because he insisted that hydroxychloroquine must be tested rigorously before anybody goes and recommends it. And so he was fired by the president. Now, of course, the FDA announced today that people should be very careful about it and probably not take it, except for under very sort of narrow circumstances. But this is the problem that we have. And this is what this epidemiologist was basically talking about. Like he's, more or less like the facts are the facts. And what we need is some type of leadership in this country to help the country figure out what the broad principles are that will protect us and we're not going to live a normal life, but we also can't stay in the situation that we're in now for the 18 months until we get a vaccine. And that it really should be the 18 months if we get a vaccine. There's only two ways out of this. One is a vaccine. The other is 60 to 70% of the country get it. And then it will start to diminish. But you can't go out and try and get it, because if you do, you will overrun the capacity of our medical system, and the number of people who will die will be exponentially greater. I mean, we're 50,000 people dead now, and we've been in this a month. You do the math. We are probably looking at the end of this, hundreds of thousands of people are probably going to die from this. And there's really no mitigating that. You can mitigate, is it going to be maybe 300,000, or is it going to be 800,000, or is it going to be 2 million? Those things can be changed, but there's going to be a lot of deaths from this. And if you try and just like, we're all going to get sick and then we can end this whole thing, then the deaths are going to be a lot more, because we do not have the ability to treat that many people. And people are not going to just die of COVID. They're going to die of a host of other things that can't be treated. So the question is like, how do you both not essentially destroy society by having everybody stay in the situation they're in right now for 18 months, which is a minimum, and it's an if, right? Because you're counting on getting a vaccination then. And how do you not have hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people die in this country? And the answer is somewhere around, like, find these broad principles that work, have a national discussion about what risks are we willing to assume as a country, what are the upsides and downsides of these risks and whatnot, and then start to try and move forward. We're not having anything close to that conversation. Nowhere. We're spending our time. Well, let's go right into this. This idiot. I know that's not a term of art, but here's this like amazing moron. And there was a piece out today about not just of Trump firing the one of the top infectious disease experts, not just a piece about Trump sidelining the CDC because he doesn't appreciate the fact that they make him look like an idiot. There's a story about how, Trump's really dour these days, guys. And how like guys like Fauci and whatnot are, they're exhausted by having to do this dog and pony show every day for 2 hours. There's a lot more constructive things that Fauci can be doing than being up there and having to not laugh or cry when Donald Trump speaks. Here's Donald Trump trying to impress people. That's what's going on here. He is trying to impress people, and he is so just out of his mind with a self-assessment that it has just occurred to him that, wait a second, if disinfectant or ultraviolet light can kill a virus on a surface, what about if we use that on human beings? Think about it.
Brian?
Thank you very much. So I ask Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
Get the right folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
I mean, this is, and for people who have young children, you've seen this before on some level where a child recounts a conversation that they've had with somebody because they want to sort of impress you. I told mommy that that after that I'm going to go to the bathroom after and then I'm going to wash my hands. Do I get a cookie? That's what he's doing. He's trying. He thinks he's on to something that is so unique and special and brilliant that he wants to make sure that everybody knows. It's on record. I was the one who gave them this idea about, the disinfectant, and maybe there's a way to wash out the lungs with disinfectant or something, or like shine the light really bright on the flesh. That's what I said. They're going to check it out, but it was my idea, everybody. So just want that on the record. Thank you. I mean, this would be hilarious if it wasn't for the fact that this is the president of the United States. It's the president of the United States. And forget the president of the United States. It's the guy he's the guy who's in charge that we're all looking for to exercise some leadership in this instance. We're so screwed.